When I first said Orlando was a dollar bill, I first noticed it through the 3 billboards, the gold-faced billboards. One was on Scenic Road and Currency. The second one was on Scenic Road, International Drive, and the third one was on the overpass of Tropical Trail. And I said that I-4 created the top, the I, 4 eyes on a dollar, 1 over the pyramid, 1 in the eagle, and 2 in George Washington. That made 4, I-4. Now we have the 13 levels to the top, which created the 1, or the I is 9, because it's the 9th letter plus 4 is 13. And the fact that one of the places was Currency Drive. Currency means money, international influence of the dollar itself. Now, when I noticed that, I looked to the right and I saw the airport was sitting in the position that the eagle would sit. So at that point, I came to the airport to see what I can find that would confirm that this was the eagle, and in fact, the dollar bill. Now, when I came to the airport, I found Bomber Memorial Park, and it says this park is dedicated to the men and women of the 306th Bomb Wing and the citizens of the Orlando area in memory of the long-standing close relationship which existed between the members of the United States Air Force Strategic Air Command and this community between 1957 and 1974. Now, that period of 1974, I came to Orlando back in 1972 for the first time visiting, going to Disney World. And we stayed through the new year, which made it 1973. We came back again in 1973, December, and stayed through the new year, 1974. The park itself was dedicated on April 17th, 1985, which was a few years before my son Andre was born, which he was born in August 26th. When I met his mother, she was working for Dollar Rent-A-Car, which was off the airport. But at that time, it was just no more than meeting someone, but not knowing later on the purpose behind it. Now we turn around, we see the B-52 bomber itself. And I want to show you something just as significant. As we get close to this bomber, you can see how massive it is. These are the bombers that used to fly in the Korean and Vietnam War. And when the park and this airport, which was an Air Force Base, was no longer needed because of the downsizing of the United States Air Force in the military and defense during the Vietnam War, as it started to wind down, they had to do something with their properties. And one of the things they did was give it to turn it over to Orlando. The city of Orlando became Orlando International Airport from McCoy Air Force Base. Now we see a number, 687. 687, to me, is significant because it rings a year. 687, June 687. June 687 was the time period when I first got on an airplane, or got on a plane and flew to Houston, Texas. And also 687, June is my mother's birthday. And we're going to go around to this airplane, this bomber, and we're going to see something else that kind of hits home a little bit better to what I'm saying about 1987. and I'm connected to something else. When I said Orlando was a dollar, and this represented the dollar itself, the dollar bill. This is the eagle and the dollar. We also see the number 60687. 60687. We look at it as a date again. June 6, 1987. Meaning that we go from 6 month in 1987 to June 6, 1987, which is my mother's birthday. Her birth month is June 1987. Her birthday is June 6, which even better as far as we're going to go through the fact that 1987 was the same year that the SunTrust building was being constructed, going from Sunbank to SunTrust. It went from this height that it was as like a 5-story building to the height of 441 feet. And it's designed with the 4 pyramids on top, the green pyramids, and looks the color of a dollar bill. And it's the tallest building allowed in Orlando, similar to the way that the obelisk structure, the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C., is the tallest building allowed in Washington, D.C. And it was finished in 1988, the same way the obelisk, the Washington Monument, was finished in 1888. Now, to see the number 60687 and know that the SunTrust building, which I said was representing the dollar itself, because we're dealing with SunTrust, in God we trust, is the same thing. So if you think this is a type of coincidence, then think again. Connect the dots. I said this was a dollar bill. Now 1974, which you already saw based on the plaque, was a year before I had taken the object from under my skin. I removed it in 1975. And this was the same period that this was all taking place. This is the dollar bill. Now all the currencies have pictures of a place or an event. The dollar itself has the pyramid with the eye and the eagle. Now it doesn't say anything because the pyramid itself is not native to the United States. Let's say that pyramid. But what we can look at is the fact that on the dollar and on the pyramid, there is something else that gives it a little bit more significant to confirm that this is what it is. And we're going to look at that in just a minute. But this is showing that this was laid out for the purpose of showing Orlando the dollar. If you look right there on the right side, the corner of the pyramid, you'll see a plant. The plant is a flower. On the left side, a plant. The plant is a flower. We had I-4, the 4 eyes, and we have the floral design on the dollar around the design, and the floral means flowery, Florida. We have the Air Force Base, because this is the symbol of the Air Force, the Great Seal. Can't get any more obvious than that. The 13 stars, dealing with 436, the road that runs into the airport from the north gives it the 13, because 4, 3, 7 plus 6 is 13. Same way the 13th level to the top of the pyramid. Then we have the 9 tail feathers, and we know that on the B-52 bomber tail, the numbers add up to 27. That makes it 9. Okay? We have the 306 bomb wing and the citizens of Orlando. The 306 is 9. Okay? This is all here. This is all fact. Now, when I mentioned the Stargate, and you look at the Stargate itself, the movie, it was dealing with the Air Force. Now, when you deal with astronauts, when I showed on the other video, I mentioned John Young. John Young was an astronaut, chief astronaut, and how John Young Parkway runs through the layout of the Great Pyramid. And his last flight to the moon was on April 1972, in April 1972. And another street or another road that runs through used to be called Florida Turnpike. And in 1998, it was changed to Ronald Reagan Turnpike. 1980, Ronald Reagan was president. John Young flew in the first space shuttle, 1981. Ronald Reagan was president and also dealt with Star Wars. So here we're dealing with Kennedy Space Center, space, time, and I showed you Orion. How much more of a message do you need for communicating a message from space? This is not a SETI project. This is me showing you a connection between heaven and earth through these symbols. How did the United States advance itself? Through war. All wars, starting with the Revolutionary War. Then you had the War of 1812, Native American War, Civil War. Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, and then a recent war on terrorism, which also dealt with 4 planes and an airport. 2001. Can you see the connection?